Okay, I think we should be live here. I'm not sure if anyone's here yet, but this is Joshua Johnson, CTO of Tree Industries and also lead developer on Ultimate Disc Golf. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of double check a couple settings here before we really get going. Also just going to put in Discord that we're live here. Okay, I'm going to pull up our Restream chat. So we're multicasting with Restream today. We're on a few different channels. I'm going to go ahead and open up our chat browser for that. Okay, we're just about set here. One last thing, I'm just sharing this out on Facebook and social media real quick, and then we'll kind of jump into some actual development and discussing some of the alpha bugs, and I'll be taking any questions you all want to throw at me. Okay. Almost there. Appreciate everybody's patience. Okay, so we've gotten so much great feedback from the initial alpha version, and we've been just compartmentalizing it and organizing every comment and suggestion, and all of it has been great, like I said. At this point, we're just kind of making kind of a game plan for the first initial update release, and our plan right now is to hopefully have that out sometime this weekend, maybe at the latest early next week. And hopefully that's going to fix a lot of the kind of initial, kind of more annoying bugs. There was definitely things that we hoped to fit into the initial release, but it was more important for us to kind of meet that commitment of getting an alpha out that people could try out, even if there was things that we know that would, we would get comments about, and that's fine with us at the moment. It's all about kind of building from there and kind of moving forwards together. That being said, I've got a list of some things that I'm going to try to just work through today. Let's see. Specifically, we're going to look at the tap-in mechanic, and also I'm hoping we can also get to the spin putt. I know right now the power level is just not quite enough, and a lot of people are having to really aim up high to get that to kind of float towards the basket with the spin putt throw type. So I think I'm going to make some adjustments on that, and we'll do some testing kind of while I'm doing the stream here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our Unreal Engine development environment where I've already got it pulled up, and we're going to kind of just hop right into it here. I'm going to adjust my mic here real quick. I appreciate that. So this is only, I think, the second time we've really multicasted. Let me adjust the mic volume. Is that better at all? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Looks like we've got a few people watching now. Just want to welcome you again. This is Joshua, lead developer on Ultimate Disc Golf. So we've got our development environment pulled up, and I'm going to kind of hop into it here, just kind of fixing some little things from the initial feedback from Alpha. Also, feel free to let me know how the frame rate is in terms of the stream. So let me know if it gets too choppy or anything like that. Appreciate it. So we put in a lot of work over the last 2 years, kind of behind the scenes. So this will be the first time I've really kind of talked my way through some of the development stuff. So if I need to go back and cover any questions, feel free to slow me down a little bit. I might get cranking away, and if anybody is kind of interested how we're making decisions, I'm happy to answer. Just make sure you throw it into the chat. Okay, first thing I think I'm going to do here is look at this tap-in mechanic. Personally, it's annoying when you get kind of a parked shot and it's kind of just outside the range, and then you try to putt it and it's bouncing back, and we definitely realize that that's going to be an annoying bug. What I did want to kind of talk about is the tap-in mechanic was something that we added kind of really late to the game. We've been playing and internally testing for a while, and the more we played it, the more we thought, maybe it would be a good mechanic. And it seemed like most people are good with it, just it needs to be polished up and maybe work a little more consistently. So the first thing that we're going to do for the next release update is essentially widen the tap-in range. So, hopefully as we fix the chains a little bit too, there's very little chance of that disc bouncing back at you and kind of overlapping your player. Hopefully that's going to make it essentially bug-free at that point, but we'll look at it again after that, after we get some more testing in. Okay, so in order to do that, we're just going to scale this up. Hey, Tyler, how's it going? Appreciate you being here. I got a huge kick out of the whole segment of riding the rabbits and the squirrels, so I appreciate that. It was definitely fun. So we have Tyler from Disc Golf Comedy in the chat on Twitch, and he's got a video up on YouTube of him kind of testing out the alpha, and we've got some things with the AI on the animals where they don't quite run away from you yet. So if you kind of go by them, you could pretty much jump on them and take them for a ride around the course. So um, we're gonna leave it in there for a little bit, I think, just because it's pretty funny. But eventually we'll have to spoil everybody's fun. We got some AI that will have them kind of scattering about a little bit more. That should stay in the game. Yeah, I feel like a few people have been thinking that, so I'm not going to make any commitment one way or the other at this point. Okay, so we have this little overlap circle here. So what this does is essentially um, only interacts with the player. That's essentially what looks for and triggers the tap-in mechanic. So we're going to go ahead and make this bigger and just do a couple kind of in-engine tests here. We can actually kind of load it up and play it inside the editor. I think we'll keep the height close to the same here. I think we're going to go about 250 for now and see how that works. Okay, go ahead and test that out. One glance at the software makes me realize I went into the right profession. Yeah, it can get technical, but I'll tell you the technology's come a long way, and you know, we have plugins that do a lot of code in the background, and really I get to do a lot of kind of in-game testing and kind of through these blueprint interfaces that you know, it's still technical, but is definitely not, you know, make you want to bash your head against a brick wall difficult. I come from a web development background and coding and things like that, so this is definitely a lot more enjoyable than some of my past experiences in that field. Oh, Ascent, that one. Well, that's definitely not tapping range. Should have went backhand mid-range. Appreciate that suggestion. Well, we'll go ahead and try that out. Sounds like fun. Though, actually, we've had so many comments about the stretching before the backhand that I think maybe we'll go ahead and take that out for now, because I really don't feel like waiting through it at the moment either. I think eventually what we're going to do is maybe have those as more like an emote, or, you know, if you're standing idly for too long, then maybe you might do a stretch and some things like that rather than before every throw. Okay, to do that, we have what we call a animation blueprint that we'll use. I do agree that you have to stretch. We have a comment here, but you have to stretch, and I'm gonna show my age, but that is definitely essential for me. It's a requirement. We're definitely not going to take them out. We're just going to make them a little bit more kind of at the player's discretion to use. Okay, if y'all can see my screen here. So we've set up a very sophisticated system using kind of all the built-in Unreal Engine tools with their latest advancements. And so what we have is we have different actually what we call animation montages, which can actually hold multiple animations and actually trigger animations on specific parts of the body, like just having the arm angle up or down based off a specific montage that we kind of add to the equation. So yeah, some things that might be rough. A lot of this is kind of the under the hood stuff that you're seeing now, and that's going to allow us to easily continue to improve those at slight variations, and really without a lot of like recoding and tough iteration times. We can do it really quick here in this blueprint. We can go right to the game and test it out in the editor. So I'm not going to delete that. I'm just going to drop it out for now. Okay, we'll go ahead and see if that worked. A little bit of choppiness, I think, is because of the stream here. So I'm not sure how I got rusty in a day, but apparently that's what's happening here. Hey Zenas, we appreciate you joining us. So we have Zenas in chat on Twitch, and he has the officially confirmed first ace for the alpha. So congratulations again. Really appreciate the screenshot. Just seeing that kind of stuff happening has just made all this effort worth it. So for those that might not know, I've been disc golfing for about 20 years, mostly casually, but definitely consistently over that time. And I've always kind of wanted to see a game like this, and I know there's been some other, great games along the way for kind of what they were, and we wanted to combine some of the best things of those and some of the things I had yet to see in a disc golf game, and kind of really build something unique. And I feel like with the feedback we're getting so far that we're on the right track. So appreciate that. It's really kind of keeping us motivated to kind of see this through all the way to the full release. Still think that's going to be just outside of the new tap-in range. We'll see here. Yeah, for sure. Okay, that looks pretty close to the death zone, to quote Tyler from Disc Golf Comedy. So we'll see if we've improved that here. Pretty close, I feel like. Nice hashtag death zone. I like that. Much better and a lot more realistic from Zenas there. So yeah, I think that definitely is going to work better. Hopefully we'll get some more people to test it and see if we need to make any small adjustments. But you can hopefully that kind of gives people an idea of how quickly we're going to be able to iterate from this initial version to really quickly improving a lot of the core gameplay, and then adding to it quickly from there as well. Once we have that tapping mechanic to where we really like it, I think one thing that we're going to do is kind of have that kind of tap in putt, kind of a walk up animation, and then have it do the celebration. We'll kind of see what the feedback is. Okay, for anybody that has noticed, and we had a lot of keen-eyed people notice the hole 2 bug. We have got that fixed already. hop out of that here. Okay, we got a comment here. Also, just an idea. If you get an ace, I feel like the ace word should be up longer to get a picture. That's what I tried and failed, but then I remember the scorecard. Yeah, I definitely think the celebrations after. So we have a head shake and we have some text for the bogey and par. I would say that we have most of the underlying mechanics for those implemented. I would definitely like to see us jazz those up a bit. I know some people kind of, refer to that kind of dopamine effect and giving that dopamine hit. And we're definitely going to do what we can as we move forward. So appreciate that suggestion. Okay, so the tapping looked pretty good. Okay, so next I think I'm going to go ahead and try to make some adjustments to the spin putt here. See if we can get it flying a little further and flatter with just that kind of more slight fade. The putter will have it then. That glow, though, looks nice. I guess I'm kind of curious which glow you're referring to. But thanks either way. The glow disc. Yes, we are definitely, all about kind of hitting every part of the sport. And, I think anybody that's disc golfed is, if they've gotten out for a glow round, most likely enjoyed it. I know I've really enjoyed it the few times I got to go. It's been a few years, but so we have glow discs, and so anybody that's not aware can kind of fill you in on this. We have a fully dynamic day and night system for Ultimate Disc Golf. So it's the kind of night and day changes are not active right now to where it actually kind of goes through the day as you're playing the round. But that is something that we have actually already implemented. So eventually you'll be able to actually pick the time that you want to play kind of before you pick your course. Kind of, I'm not sure where we're going to put it yet, but somehow you'll be able to do that. So if you want to play at night, you'll have your glow disc available, and then you can play at dusk, evening, morning, whatever, and all of that will be dynamically lit within the environment. Okay, sorry everybody, have to bear with me. I'm looking through just a couple blueprints I had open last time that I just want to kind of refresh my own memory on. That's looking good. Okay, so what I'm pulling up now is the kind of master blueprint for all discs within Ultimate Disc Golf. And so the way we've approached this is essentially this master one controls a lot of the base physics, kind of things like mesh components. So where we switch out the mesh for the putter, mid-range, driver, and essentially allows us to have a base setup for the overall physics, and then each different disc from there can have that kind of overridden to impact the kind of flight characteristics. So if you notice some things, in the alpha might be missing in terms of like angle release and stuff like that, kind of just know we wanted to get that good feedback on, kind of that flat release, how these three first discs will, fly, will they be consistent? And then from there, we're going to be creating a lot more kind of sub blueprints that will be actual disc designs, over and understable with different ratings and such. And this master one kind of allows us to iterate down kind of the master functions and things we need for all of the discs. Okay, I was just looking at a couple notes here. So if you're curious what you're seeing on the screen here, what we have is the setup that essentially changes the throw power dynamically based on the throw type. So what that allows us to do is kind of have the same power meter size, so that's kind of always the same. What's your thought about the aggressive fade at the end of the current disc flight? Yeah, that's a great question. I'll be happy to kind of address that before we get any further here. As anyone can probably guess, having the realistic flight physics and characteristics is going to be the hardest part of a game like this, and we have thought really hard about how we're implementing, I guess, the flight. Let's see, sorry. Will that be toned down, or is that just a characteristic of the first three? No, it's definitely going to be toned down, and kind of what I described with the master blueprint and then the sub blueprints for like each disc being kind of its own that we can override means that we can change those, what we call physics impulses. And so I guess what that kind of actually means is we're using the built-in Unreal Engine physics simulation to attain all disc flight in Ultimate Disc Golf. And so there's a lot of games out there that will use these things like projectile movement, where they kind of fake the physics, which can give you a more consistent path on your projectile, but at the same time, it's hard to kind of have that realistic look to the flight in terms of something more like a grenade or a disc. So we decided to use the physics impulses. And so what we have is we have timelines that can essentially control the physics impulses around the disc. And that's essentially what we use to simulate lift when you think about how a disc is designed and it spins and the way you throw it. So what we're kind of doing now is getting that feedback, and we're going to start tweaking those physics impulses. And so the physics impulse could be underneath it, kind of making sure that it has lift. So a putter might have a little less vertical for physics impulse on it, so it'll kind of dive a little harder. So right now, I think that the fade on those, just to kind of wrap up your question here, is definitely too much at the moment for the physics impulses that create the curve of the disc. So what we're going to do is essentially, drop those down, and maybe if we have to, eventually, depending on the angle. So let's say if you throw a really sharp hyzer, that's going to dive even harder. So eventually, depending on the angle, we'll maybe even add a down impulse that slowly crashes that down, makes it fade a lot less. So we have a plan for it, and appreciate everybody's feedback, because that's allowing us to really go through what we've got and set the game plan for the next set of iterations. And thanks for the question. That was awesome. Okay, so if you're looking at my screen here, you can see the spin putt. We have the spin putt throw type. We essentially have that half power. And so that was kind of a ballpark, but impressive stuff, dude. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Really appreciate that, man. Looking at some more videos and getting the feedback, I definitely think we can, make that less of a cut in power. So we're going to go ahead and try a couple settings and kind of see how that spin putt does. And hopefully what you all see in the video is going to be something you're going to like here in the next update release. In fact, I think we're going to go ahead and make this a multiplication instead of a division. So instead of dividing by 2, I think we're going to go multiply by 0.7. So it'll be roughly 2/3 of the backhand. Lag for a second. To me, a strong thrower. Now, I've played this actual hole at White Birch, and I usually don't have to cross step, but I don't know that I would do kind of a spin putt. I'd probably do kind of more like just a one step cross body approach, but that's definitely better, I think. I think this should feel a lot better too. Yeah, nice. I'll do one more spin putt from here just to test it one more time. Let's see, let's spin putt the mid-range. The putt itself was much better, but I agree with the comment you said about from the tee box, yeah. And I think I might bring it down just a little more before the next release, and we'll kind of see how that feels for everyone, and then go from there. Got to run, but have you addressed when you're hoping to release the patch? This from Disc Golf Comedy. Yeah, we're hoping to get it out by the end of this next weekend, at the latest early next week. So I would say Monday of next week at the latest. So, personally for me, I've got a couple holiday things going on this weekend, but I'm going to be working hard over the next couple of days to kind of get most of what we want wrapped up, and then we just have to kind of package it up and upload it. And I will add to that we appreciate everybody's patience that downloads the patch. Right now we don't have kind of the streaming install, but it is fully kind of within our game plan. So we appreciate you kind of going through the process of downloading another sizable version of the game, because you'll have to delete the old version, re-extract it, and you're good to go. It shouldn't take too long other than waiting for that download again. Merry Christmas, Tyler. I appreciate you joining us. Catch you later. Okay, well, I already feel pretty good about those two changes so far. I'm going to try that one more time. I mean, to me, just knowing that course, just kind of filling that one out, that's pretty close, I would say. So when we set the power for the spin putt, one of our goals with that is we have this trajectory helper, and what we didn't want to happen is that players would start to kind of use that trajectory helper as that's the exact line that my disc is going to go, thus removing all challenge from the game. So that is really to kind of give you an idea of your character rotation, the angle that you're kind of throwing up and down. And so what that trajectory helper is going to do is just give you an idea, and then your throw type and your disc type is really going to determine your release point and thus your flight path of the disc itself. So we didn't necessarily, when you're thinking about a putt where I'm at right now, if you do a spin putt, and it's a pretty good distance. If you try to keep it low and you try to get right at it, good chance that if you miss, you're gonna go right past it. So for me, when I'm throwing a putt this range, and some people might be different, their approach might be different. So when we were thinking this out, I did kind of have to go from my own kind of personal perspective. I'm gonna put this in the air a little bit and kind of look for that fade on the putter and let it kind of drop in. So that's kind of what we were going for when you're kind of aiming up with that spin putt. Now, obviously, I think it was a little too extreme. So I'm hoping here with some of these adjustments, we'll kind of have it to where that helper's helping you, but there's still a challenge of if you throw it directly at it, we don't necessarily want that to go in. Probably if you're within the circle is what I would say. We want that to be able to be thrown straight at the basket and go in. Maybe just a little bit outside of it too. I'm hoping here maybe we can just go a little above it now. Oh yeah, I like that. Much better. Okay, we got a question here. I know this is a much in the future question, but a well-known course in the San Diego area is Morley Field. Will that be a long-term goal? Is main courses from other parts of the U.S. and maybe the world eventually? Yeah, that is kind of on our wish list, I would say. So we've got some things going on behind the scenes from a business standpoint. Our CEO Joel Johnson has been doing amazing work, really just kind of managing and curating our overall presence and building up the spreading the word about the game and really making contacts as we progress with the game to hopefully get some of those types of things going. The main one I can say, and I can't say who it is yet, unfortunately, but we did have somebody reach out to us that owns a pretty exotic course that's outside of the United States that hosts a good size big tournament that was very interested in kind of giving us the usage rights to use their actual course in the game. So we're still hammering out details, but we have the capability to do it, definitely. I mean, if you've ever been to White Birch, which you're gonna have to be local to kind of our region here in St. Louis to probably know it, but it's not exact, but it looks pretty close. Okay. see those errors that pop up when I kind of stop the editor. We're working on some broadcast camera elements for the near future. So rather than just disc cam, we'll have kind of more of a, as if you were kind of watching a covered event. Much like you would probably see in like a Tiger Woods golf or something like that. So while those are in there, they're not all the way done yet. So sometimes I get this little pop-up until they're done. So no worries there. Oh no. It's going to change the settings down to medium here. I guess we might have to wait a second. Hey there, let's see. I'm Madden Lemon. I'm probably not getting that right, but welcome to the stream. We appreciate you being here. I'm just going to let these shaders finish compiling before we kind of move forwards. Okay. So to be honest, I had a feeling those couple fixes were going to be pretty quick. Luckily, that's the way it turned out, looks like. There we go. I've got the settings turned down a little bit. Hopefully that'll help the stream. Okay, I'm just checking over Discord here for a couple of the notes that we had. So I think what I'm going to do next is kind of hop out of the blueprints and, you know, kind of show you all some of the level design. We got a few comments from people that had, I think, what are pretty hefty rigs that had some problems with, let's see, Breezy Pines in terms of frame rate. And I know our rig for testing is not a beast, and we really didn't have too many frame rate issues on that level, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it and see if we can maybe thin out some of the thicker foliage for the next release and see if that has any improvements on performance. Excuse me. Also, can you speak on if we can expect this, at least on PC, to be offered in Steam and other gaming outlets for updates? This is a question from Zenas there. So yeah, I can definitely speak to that and appreciate the question. We've posted this in a few comments here and there, but we have not made an official announcement yet. we have already gotten set up as a developer on Steam. So what we've done is essentially gone through a lot of the kind of red tape and forms that you have to fill out, and we've also already paid the fee to get listed, so we've got all that taken care of too. The only thing that we're waiting on right now is to submit them a build that they can review, and at that point, the earliest we can actually have the game live on Steam, I think, will be just after the first of the year. And so I'll go ahead and put this out there now. We're going to be doing a more official announcement when we get closer. But we're close enough now. I can start talking about it. We're actually going to be getting Ultimate Disc Golf set up as an early access game on Steam. So essentially, what the early access program is where we're going to be able to offer the full version of the game right up front. So kind of how that works is we're going to offer the game at a steep discount during the alpha and the beta. And so you'll buy the full game up front, and then you will get updates through Steam through the life of the game. So if you're an early adopter, you're definitely going to get a great price on what will eventually be the full version. So we want to do that to kind of, for one, it does help us as an indie dev continue to kind of build up the resources that we need to really see the game through to completion on all the platforms that we envision eventually. And also, really put something out there for our early players, those people that have been supporting us from the get-go. And that number's growing, and we appreciate everyone. So hopefully that would be a good outlet to grab the game from early, but also, kind of see it all the way through. And hopefully we're going to have a really cool run and end up with a game that is eventually going to have, the things that I think a lot of us have wanted to see, not just myself. Let's see here. So, in addition to Steam, because this is an Unreal Engine powered game, we're definitely looking at the Epic Game Store as well. We're not going to be doing any type of exclusives at this point, so hopefully we can get on Steam and the Epic Game Store. I know people have their preferences, but we're going to try to get it out there in as many outlets as possible. I'm going to go ahead and open up Breezy Pines here. See some weird names for maps and such. Kind of we created some of the courses before we kind of had the final names that we actually wanted to use in the game. So that's all that is. Alright, we're going to have to wait a sec for this to load up. For those watching here, you're probably going to get to see some of the cool little behind-the-scenes stuff, so to speak. If you see me go across something or buy something that you're curious about, please feel free to throw it out there, and I'll definitely address it if I can. think step number one here is we've got kind of what we call the rough for this course here. We've got it pretty thick for these taller ones. I definitely feel like for the next update, maybe thin these out a little bit for some of our lower end system players. Love the alpha so far. Excited to see the future of this. Really appreciate that. Okay, we got a question here on Twitch. What is the plan with the trash that can be picked up? I'm really glad you asked that. We've definitely had people notice that in the initial alpha version, while there's no active mission, no NPC that you can interact with, if you go through the course, you might randomly stumble across kind of a acquired trash pickup notification. And essentially what we're going to be doing is kind of side missions and extra things to do to kind of add to the experience. So that's going to kind of do two things. One, we want to kind of have that broad reach with the game. Another thing is Tree in general. We're definitely all about efficiency. We're big fans of open source technology, things like that. So things like course maintenance just definitely seem like a fit for the game. And on top of that, we're going to go ahead and make that kind of also part of the achievement system. So any types of side missions or extra things to do in Ultimate Disc Golf will reward in-game currency, achievement points. We're not sure the exact way we're going to have it set up yet, but we have the whole mission system set up. We're just kind of figuring out which back-end system we're going to use for those points for the cross-platform part. But eventually be able to use those points or whatever to unlock more discs, more outfits for the character creation system, and maybe we'll have some other things down the road. But those are kind of the main things to get it going. We're also looking at things like some hidden Easter eggs. So maybe finding a disc in like a little pond or something that you get to keep. It's like a new skin. So we got a couple comments here that kind of in agreement, I guess, that definitely does things for the sport in terms of if we're gonna have potentially players of the game that have never disc golf before, and that is definitely a goal of ours in the long run. We definitely want to make sure that's one of the first things that they learn about. So especially if these are younger gamers that are playing our game, so we want to take that kind of seriously. Okay. Let's see. Very cool. I just stumbled across them while playing, then started looking for more. Awesome. We're glad you're enjoying it there. So I'm going to go to my landscape tool. Scratch that, my foliage tool. Been a little bit since I painted these down, but I believe this is the proper foliage we want to adjust. To find a little out of the way area and test it out. That's pretty thick right there. Hey, Mark. Glad you could join us. Appreciate you being here. I'm not sure why we're not getting any erasure of the foliage. I delete it. Okay. That might be something I just need to restart my engine here. I might go ahead and move on to something else if that's going to be a problem for us. Okay, sorry, bear with me here. That is definitely an odd little bug on the editor I'm coming across, but I will get that figured out another day. Got some nice dead tree trunks here. Way too many though. Oh, I almost like that one there. You can stay. So I guess for anybody who's just joining us, I want to go ahead and cover a couple of things that were fixed if you missed the first part of the stream. We went ahead and adjusted the tapping mechanics, so it's definitely a bigger area, so you don't get caught in what we've called the death zone, which has been coined by our friends at Disc Golf Comedy. And it's definitely working out a lot better. We'll see if we need any more adjustments. We'll go ahead and test that out for the people that are just joining us. Let's see. When will patches be added to this alpha version? At the moment, my game is choppy and can't play even with the settings lowered. But I still hold out hope that I'll be able to test it. We are definitely disappointed that the game is running choppy for you, Mark, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure we fully optimize the game, cover all the different types of hardware specs that we can. And I think you had posted your specs, and it seemed to me that should be able to run it. I'll have to look back at Discord here. All right, I can't pull it up right now, but I will go ahead and address the alpha version patch. So we're hoping to have the first update release out by the beginning of next week at the latest. If we can get it out a little bit earlier, we will, but we do want to make sure we can have as many fixes as possible, and especially something like the performance is going to be a little more involved. So I don't know that will be fully fixed for you the first version, but we are thinking about you. We're thinking about everybody that maybe had a little bit of trouble playing the game, and we're fully committed to continue to improving that experience for you. I was actually kind of hoping, removing some of this extra foliage in the rough would help out your problem on this level. I noticed, I think somebody said they had more issues with this one than they did Sunny Birch. Okay, let's go ahead and see how far that spin put goes from here. Yeah, again, I think that's a pretty good spin pipe as far as distance, but not out of the realm of possibility, I guess. Try that again. And it definitely seems to be holding a line better. That's usually what happens when I spin putt from that distance. They go in once in a while. Alright, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that tapping distance too. Go ahead and do it one more time here. See if I can kind of, I don't want it parked, I want to kind of try to test a little bit further output. See if I can make that happen. No stretch, that's much better. Will a push style putt be added down the road? Yeah, we're definitely going to be adding push putt, straddle putt, turbo putt, which I've been known to throw. So it's definitely fun watching, some of the faces of somebody who's newer to disc when I throw a turbo putt southpaw and make it in from outside the circle, which happens on a rare occasion. Yeah, we're definitely gonna add as many style throws as we can into the mix, and the base of what we built is gonna make the next iteration a lot easier. We definitely didn't want to overload ourselves for one as developers with trying to have every throw style, everything that we wanted to have before we had some of the base performance, things like the locomotion system, the moving around, crouching. The cameras, all those things that are kind of going to more than just a game that kind of takes you from throw to throw, one that's kind of more full control of your character. So, yeah, once we have all that worked out, yeah. Let's see, adding the 360 drive. Slightly as a joke, but cool idea. Who knows what kind of fun stuff we'll get to add down the road if we're able to, get the core stuff in and people are enjoying the game. I think our dev team is going to get to have some fun throwing some more things in there. So who knows? I wouldn't mind having that just to see where it goes. So just under full power here. Actually, I shouldn't need full power, so let's try a little bit softer. Oh. Bomb. bomb that one. I have noticed we have a little bit of an issue with the tap-in on this particular hole. Okay. I've got that note. I'm going to come back to that later. Yeah, we got a comment here. A nice flip-up shot is what I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm definitely excited to get up shots. One I'm really excited about working on is the tomahawk. Just kind of the way that those fly. I've kind of worked out how the physics impulses will work in terms of the flight line, it's definitely complicated on the tomahawk. But I think when we're done, it's going to be one that's extremely cool. You're very welcome. We had somebody thank us for doing Mark thanked us for doing the live stream, so y'all can kind of see a little bit behind the scenes and the progress. So we're definitely going to be trying to do more of those now that the alpha's out, and appreciate anything that you all can do to spread the word, hopefully bring more people in. And I know for some people that the game is probably too early for, but I think a lot of people, once they see that they get to be involved in this kind of process in the way that we're trying to approach it as a developer, they'll get to be a part of something that's a pretty cool experience for everyone involved. We've had a couple people mention that they hit the T sign. So the last comment here: during my playthrough on this hole, I started the hole looking at the T sign and hit it 3 times. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that's definitely a bummer. I know that one thing that happens right now, and I can kind of maybe address that too in terms of what we consider a bug or something that still needs improvement, is kind of the angle of your player when you walk up to the tee. So I've already started this throw, but so if I walk up to start the throw and I'm kind of aiming this way and I hit E, I'm now locked into place. So my body angle is kind of looking right at that tee sign. So even if I aim more towards the hole, the release point of the disc is affected by your body angle and that kind of trajectory helper. So if I'm looking here and I throw it that way, it's still probably going to veer off towards that sign. One thing that we're looking at is some kind of like turn while aiming mechanics, and kind of improving that experience. And that will tie into things like, let's say you throw one behind a tree and you need to kind of lean out and do like a flick shot. So we're going to kind of have some options for kind of positioning while you're aiming that would make it easier to kind of, if you get kind of a wonky angle or whatever when you start the hole, you'll kind of have a chance to kind of straighten your body position out. So we've done some internal tests. It's just not quite finalized yet, but we're kind of taking the feedback we've gotten to on just like the last comment, and we'll definitely be figuring out a way to where that's less likely to hit the T sign 3 times in a row. This is about the distance I wanted to test out here. Yeah, I like that. Stay in. That's funny. Okay, so we adjusted the tap-in size, and now it seems like when I get really close, it's not quite catching the overlap, so we might look at that. not a big deal. Usually it's how it goes when you kind of make one change. You can look for those reverberating effects, so to speak. Oh man. Okay, we'll just call it quits while we're ahead here. Appreciate that you think it's looking better. I definitely agree there. Side note, make UDG an esport. That would be cool, wouldn't it? For us personally, for sure. So I think that's a good opportunity to maybe talk about the online multiplayer that we're envisioning. So, we don't have anything like that active in this initial alpha, and kind of already explained, we'll go over it again, about kind of what the goals were for the initial release, and we're already getting there on that end. But I want to talk about a little bit even deeper underneath the hood of Ultimate Disc Golf. What we've done over the last 2 years was really work on an overall game, not just a disc golf game. So we've already implemented things like component replication of certain variables for scoring, and all the things that you kind of need to do to make your game ready for online multiplayer. So Unreal Engine definitely helps with that process, and a lot of the things we built, it was some simple plug in a few more nodes and make sure we got casts out to quote unquote server eventually that would host the multiplayer. And on top of that, this isn't quite finished yet, but we've started on it, and we'll definitely be coming down the road, is utilizing the Epic Game Services. So we've already got all of the plugins and the necessary underlying systems to have things like matchmaking, cross-platform stats and leaderboards, and some other fun online things. So, if that all ends up happening, we're able to, see those through to completion, which is going to be, still some work, but we're not starting from scratch, I guess is what I'm trying to, explain to you all. Maybe we'll see as an esport, and that would be pretty cool. Wait, I just sat down. Did I hear Epic Games? So, I was just mentioning that we're going to be using the newly released Epic Game Services to power some of the back-end things for the game for the eventual online multiplayer. So, think about, kind of a casual match, what you might call like an unranked, where it matches up, let's say, 16 people. I don't know if we're talking like a dubs match where you get randomly partnered up and it's like take the best shot, but you'll get matched up with a partner, let's say in that mode, and the Epic Games matchmaking services and their online services that they just released will kind of help facilitate everything that goes into kind of creating that server environment for those players to play that course in. What that does, we get to worry about really more things like building the courses, making sure that those flight physics are really polished. A lot of the back end things, what we basically try to do is not reinvent the wheel. That's a big thing that we talk about here at Tree all the time. So no, you won't have to do that. We'll so as long as I don't have to touch the Epic Games Store. And I kind of mentioned that earlier. I definitely realize, and we realize people have their preferences. So you probably missed it earlier, but we're also going to be be submitting the game for early access on Steam. So we've already got the developer account. We've already submitted the fee to get listed for that. Really, all we're waiting on is we're going to do our next update release just to hammer out some of the initial, kind of more annoying bugs before we hand it off to Steam to review. And so, again, we appreciate everybody's feedback, because that first release update, I think is going to be a lot better from that feedback, and should get us through the Steam application process pretty quick, or the review process, I should say. So, if you got Steam, it would definitely be available through there here. Should be right after the new year sometime. So I think what I'm gonna probably do here is I'm gonna wrap it up here in a second. If anybody else has any, questions or comments or suggestions, I've got a second here. I'll kind of save things up and close down. Oh yeah, great question. I did want to actually address that. I appreciate you asking that. The comment here is, did you guys also submit the game to Twitch? Going to be going live with it again tomorrow, which we really appreciate and would love to be able to tag the game. Again, we appreciate that, and we have actually submitted to have the game listed on Twitch. So I guess we had to go through a website, giantbomb.com, which is like a wiki for games. So we got that account set up last night, already submitted the game, and we're just waiting on their moderators to approve it. Once that happens, I guess Twitch will automatically pull from their database every so often. So once it's in Giant Bomb, it should be less than a day or so before it's listed on Twitch. We made sure to do it right away after we got a couple comments, but we've been kind of waiting on the moderators for about a day now. So hopefully they'll get that done soon. If it's not ready by tomorrow, bummer. Hopefully it'll be ready for the next go around after that. I appreciate that question. Last one here from Mark is, will there ever be an option to design custom courses in an open area? This is a question that we have gotten multiple times now. We have everything in place, I think, that to do a rough version, and what I would say right now is that it's a stretch goal. I personally think it's a great idea. Let's see. User generated content, I think, could add a really cool layer to the game. I mean, personally for me, even on my wish list would be like things like blockchain powered discs that you could trade with other players that you put your own stamp on. Basically from like an uploaded photo. So we definitely have a pretty ambitious wish list in terms of generated content from users. We're gonna have to take it one step at a time, though. It's kind of how I'll wrap that one up. There's lots of cool, exciting things we want to get to. We're just gonna, take our time and continue to build the community and appreciate everyone's support, because that's what's gonna get us there to some of those really, really cool things that will expand the game from being kind of a cool disc golf simulation to a really big experience that has a lot of replay value. Hey General, let's see, his question is, when will the update be out? I'll go ahead and address this one last time. We're planning on, at the latest, by the beginning of early next week. We want to make sure we get all the annoying bugs done. I've got a couple things on performance that I'd like to, get into the first release. We've had some people with high-end machines that actually had a little bit of sputtering, so I want to take a hard look at that before we put out the next one. All goes well. Maybe it gets out by Friday in a couple days, but we'll keep everybody posted. And like I said, at the latest, it should be next Monday. Okay, I'm at my home office tonight, everyone, and I'm definitely smelling some dinner out there. I'm pretty sure that's my cue. So appreciate everybody joining us. Feel free to share the stream, share the game, get other people involved in this kind of building this experience with us. Let's see. Thanks again, Josh. I like what I've heard. Some good stuff. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Everybody have a good night. Thanks.